Hey guys, welcome to season 2 of Rockstars of Ethereum, a show about the journey and awesome work people are doing in Ethereum and Web3 space as a whole, aka Rockstars of Ethereum. I'm Richa
And I'm Harsh
from
from Ethereum
Push
Push
Notification
Notification Service.
Service. Okay.
We never get that synchronization right. But yeah, that's a good icebreaker to begin with.
Yep. So, guys, guess what? We're really excited to have someone who's building the future of Web3, someone who's contributed to designing and developing scalable solutions for the decentralized future, contributed to major ecosystems such as Ethereum, Polkadot, Filecoin, Mina, Cosmos, and so much more. On today's episode of Rockstars of Ethereum, we're super excited to have Aidan, co-founder and CEO of ChainSafe Systems, a blockchain research and development firm, and a global leader in blockchain protocol and infrastructure development for Web3. So, hey, Aidan, so glad you could come. How's it going?
Hey, I'm doing well, thanks. And thank you for that very kind introduction.
So before we start, we usually tell our viewers like how we met the person who comes to our podcast. So how we met Eden. Well, guys, the honest answer is this is the first time we are meeting Eden, but I have been huge fan. I mean, we both have been big fans, and I've stalked ChainSafe whenever I had a tech implementation to go for, or Web3 JS, or when I just wanted to be, or whenever I was just crypto curious. But yeah, we have worked with ChainSafe. They did our audits for EPNS protocol and the push token. Because of those audits, the protocol is way better than what it was planned. We love the way they look into everything deeply, and that's what we are here to talk about. Richa, take it away.
Awesome. So let's get started. Aidan, just to begin things, right? We've heard you talk about your origins in the Web3 Summit in Berlin. It was a really interesting story. So why don't you tell us, our audience, a little bit about yourself, what ChainSafe is, and how did you guys get started?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, just to say, we've always enjoyed working together so much and can't wait to continue working together into the future. But yeah, going back to, the beginnings of everything, really, it was just a community of people. And I mean that in the most naive sense, that we were just people interested by technology. Did we have visions for where we would be today? Absolutely. But we didn't need today to exist for us to have been in the place that we were then. And it is that energy, that true positive intention that we had for this technology that really gave birth to ChainSafe.
Got it. And would love to know what's your story been like. How did you get into crypto? What's your background like?
Yeah, so I got into the blockchain space through my friends who were really interested in peer-to-peer technologies. So it was pre-Ethereum, really just a focus on, mostly at the time, really mesh nets and other things like Bitcoin and what else was out there. But in terms of kind of my interests, it really wasn't until the ideas of Ethereum started to kind of make their way through the corners of the internet, through just different friends, that my real journey began. And really this notion of unstoppable code is what really stole my heart. This notion that we could be creating truly unstoppable organizations, truly unstoppable ways for humans to coordinate themselves in a way that can be trustless, was really kind of my origins in terms of kind of what excited me so much about the implications this technology brings to the table.
And talking about ChainSafe, just in the name itself, I always wondered why the name ChainSafe. What was the story behind it? Was it something that you coined, or your partners coined? How did that come into existence?
Like any great name, no, I'm kidding. But like any name, it really came out of necessity. We needed to be called something. And at the time, we were really interested in the idea of making access to blockchain technology just much safer by nature. Things that we were excited about was, getting rid of mnemonics and just like a whole bunch of different things that, took a long time for the industry to really be able to build out. It really led to the name, which was just a way for us to, I guess, create more focus on the need to trust the trustlessness, right? So just interacting with something trustless, like just because something is open source, it doesn't mean it isn't going to steal all of your information, right? It just might do so in a way where if you would have read the code, you would know how they're going to steal your information. And so creating more sources of, I guess, signal versus noise was really the intention for the name and the brand that we were looking to create, which was a place that is technically objective and constantly going to be thriving for whatever is best for the community.
That's really amazing answer, Aidan. Just dive a bit deeper into it. Like you mentioned trustlessness, and you mentioned that the need to improve that, or the need to make sure that those problems are eliminated. So on that note, like when you started building the blockchain infrastructure, more specifically, you work on the side chains in the modern context. How do you guys saw the technology back then, and what is the evolution you guys are seeing in the technology now?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And going back 5 years, how people were at least dreaming of building application-specific blockchains was by adding precompiles, adding opcodes to the EVM, and having this kind of technically indebted EVM-based chain that really kind of aimed at utilizing what was at the time a lot of parity Ethereum as a framework, which it really was not, nor is Geth. And so it gave us really good insight into where the community would be going, because we got to work with people on realizing these use cases. And so early on, the idea of an application-specific blockchain was obviously going to be a part of our future. And when I say our, I mean the community's future, whether you like it or not. And so really what that early work lent itself the most for was obviously just technically being able to do stuff like that was just, such a joyous kind of thing, to not just be building, a dApp at the time, but to then be able to translate that to a vision of where the space is going, from an L2 slash, application specific blockchain in general, was really the best gift of all, was to understand the implications of Polkadot, to understand the implications of Cosmos well before that was maybe understood by the community as a whole. And it was just because we got exposed to the technology, or at least to the way in which that solution was being, or that problem was being solved before these frameworks existed.
And that's a equally amazing answer as well, Aidan. You mentioned application built on blockchain, and that basically is one thing which ChainSafe did. Or, that is one thing which each of the front end developer knows about when we are talking about ChainSafe. We are of course talking about Web3 .js. I would love to know like I know that you guys are the OGs in starting Web3 JS, but I would love to know the evolution of Web3 JS, like how or where the Web3 JS is going. Is it going to become multi-chain in a way? Will it support layer twos? Like, what are the next set of features planned for Web3 JS?
Yeah. And so maybe talking about the history a bit, we only really took over Web3 JS about 2 years ago. And really the idea was that, we're already building all of these TypeScript developer tools within the context of, what was ETH2 at the time. So it just made sense. And in terms of where we're going, really everything that we're working on right now is to really just make Web3 JS live up to the legacy that it has into the community. So, everything from TypeScript support to, just reducing build sizes as much as possible, to even some great work that we've done at being able to do some, ETH consensus stuff as well. And so, yeah, in terms of where we're going, I mean, Web3 JS already is pretty compatible with Ethereum-based blockchains. And in terms of other blockchains, that's a really good question, and something that the name lends itself to seeing. However, the implications of that technically are definitely, something to consider, while at the same time making sure that, Web3 JS does serve the Ethereum community, and that we're never doing anything to undermine the need to serve the Ethereum community, first and foremost through this, fundamental infrastructural project.
Couldn't agree more. Ethereum is, in my view, is a good global computer, and it's the only place I know where innovations happens. But yeah, with Ethereum, we also need to talk about layer twos. So I would love to get your take on layer twos. What's your favorite layer two, and how do you see the entire system operating in the future with so many layer twos coming up?
So my cold take is that I like them all, right? And I think that the most exciting part of all of this is that we're also creating new ecosystems where, the trade-offs are going to be better understood each and every day. And so right now, what seems like, the trade-offs that make you choose one over the other will actually end up, being very different once communities are formed and there's more culture surrounding these layer twos, as opposed to just technical decisions that come into play, or economic decisions that come into play. So in terms of which is my favorite, I mean, I really love competition, and I love just competitiveness in general and what that does for technology. And so really excited that we have a whole bunch of different options for people to take advantage of. Now, in terms of accessibility, I lean towards things that are as accessible as possible. So taking advantage of the EVM and Solidity and other libraries on top of that, or developer tools. And so I'll always lean towards things like that until we really simplify the way in which people are able to take advantage of, maybe more cutting edge L2s that are more focused on kind of the zero knowledge side of things. But in terms of, I'm always going to lean towards the things that more people can take advantage of rather than less. And so, yeah.
Speaking of that, Aidan, do you think, like in terms of adoption or in terms of ease of use, are we there for Ethereum, or do we have loads of work to do compared to Web2?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think, our work with Web3.Unity and our gaming SDK in general can kind of maybe speak towards how much more work really needs to be done. The work that you're doing with VPNs, I mean, that didn't exist a few months ago, right? So this idea of notifications just didn't exist, right? And so I think still there are so many fundamental building blocks that are absolutely missing, that will enable use cases of the future. And really, it's up to us to appreciate the responsibility and the duty we have as people in the space now to ensure that we're able to answer to the questions of the next million developers. Because it's really so crucial that we start to think outside of the box and beyond just the use cases that we see in our space right now, but rather what are the components necessary to enable the use cases of the future. And it's pretty incredible to be able to talk to people, especially within our gaming SDK work. We're able to talk to people and understand, what is stopping you from building a game. You're a Unity developer. Why haven't you built a game in the Web3 space yet? To be able to have those conversations on a regular basis and to have them inform what you're building is just such a gift where, if we were building this infrastructure for Unity developers 4 years ago, there wouldn't really be anyone to talk to.
That's actually amazing, and that's the best segue to my next question, because I was so excited with ChainSafe launching their gaming SDK. I would love to know more about it, more from a developer's perspective, like what new things this gaming SDK enables the developers to do.
Totally. And so at its kind of most basic sense, it is just Web3.Unity. Like Web3 JS, it's just a library to build things within the Unity context. Now, what we offer beyond that is a whole bunch of tooling to enable you to, for example, have an ability to have your NFT hosted, the actual data hosted on IPFS and Filecoin. We enable some really cool stuff, with login and a whole wide range of, different functionalities that are really necessary to build a game. And we do all of that in a completely open source, completely multi-chain environment where we've had people who have redeployed across different chains as gas prices have fluctuated. And so, we envision really what a metaverse is this thing that is connected to all of these other pieces, right? And so, imagine a game in the metaverse could be a game that has, it's using one blockchain for the marketplace, one blockchain for the scoreboard, and one blockchain for, all in-game stuff. And it's how all these things come together that makes it a Web3 game. And so, in terms of what we're seeing all types of different games be built, everything from VR kind of worlds to card games to first-person shooters, really everything in between. And it's just been so incredible to be able to be a part of these other people's journeys as they're making their segues from Web 2 to Web 3. And so now we get to be a part of all of these stories where, we're getting people now able to move full-time into the Web3 space because of tooling like this. And really, that's just beyond anything you could have ever wished for.
Yep. GameFi is definitely here to stay. On that note, Aidan, I would love to know your favorite game of Web2, which you would like to see on Web3.
So I was a really big MMORPG player at a really young age. And for me, MapleStory was a huge part of my childhood and my introduction to computers. And so, that game has a very big spot in my heart. I had to go cold turkey and completely stop when I was 11 or 12 years old and haven't played since. But that will always have a spot in my heart.
That's super cool. And people who are listening, MapleStory is not on Web3 yet. You have the SDK, you have the inspiration. Go have a dig at it. All right. I'll go into your past a bit more, but before that, Richa had some of the cool questions to ask. So, Richa, off to you.
Yeah, so we spoke about Aiden, like, being part of the new developer journey. And you've had a great journey yourself so far. You've taken really ambitious long-term goals in the Web3 space, helping developers build a bigger Web3 ecosystem and supporting them. So maybe if you can tell something about the most significant milestones, you feel have been in your journey so far.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and one that I wish I had more time to think about. Um, but yeah, I mean, in terms of milestones that make me proud, it's really usually team focused. So being able to come together as a collective. So, for example, at ETH Lisbon, getting to meet so many people for the first time. So many people were traveling for the first time in years, and so just each time we as a team can come together and spend that time just realizing how much we have not only in common, but how much we don't even feel like it is us meeting for the first time. Those to me are the most important milestones. Now, in terms of technological milestones, one of the most exciting kind of things that we had worked on was being a part of the ETC forks that were happening when making ETC more Ethereum compatible, and that was a lot of fun. Working on something that had huge implications from a security perspective, but at the same time knowing we could absolutely do it. We've done things similar in the past, and seeing all of that go positively was definitely an incredible amount of fun.
Yeah, yeah. And great responses. And thanks so much for all the swag at ETH Lisbon, ListCon as well. It really kept us warm. And it was one of the best swag that we took from the Lisbon conference. And finally, moving on, like Harsh mentioned in introduction, EPNS contracts have been audited by ChainSafe. And then a lot of people actually, who are developing, they always wonder why are audits required? Why are they so expensive, and why does it take so much time? They always ask the auditors these questions. Maybe ChainSafe, being one of the best auditors out there, would love to get your take on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I guess starting with the first half of your question, why is this so important? One of the most important things in life is balance of accountability, and so by having and perspective. And so by having someone with a different perspective be accountable for, a certain, level of actual commitment to reviewing and ensuring the optimization of code is crucially important, right? That might be even, it doesn't even need to be something like an audit, right? It can be, going to a friend and asking them to look over your writing, whether it's, code or an essay in school. You always wanted someone to edit your work. And so similarly, the same logic applies to our space, but the financial implications are well beyond, your one essay. And so the reason, there's such a kind of a stress within the ecosystem to find a quality auditing partner is also because not everyone in the space has necessarily the same values. And so I think, and this isn't necessarily reflective on auditors in general, but to find the people in the space that have your values, just like you do so in the world, it takes time. And it doesn't always immediately happen. And so, for the types of projects that we're looking to work with, and for the types of projects who want to work with us, it's like, we have a fair share of potential partners. However, that might not be the case for everyone. And so, our lead time is pretty long at the moment. But that's also because we really do want to make sure that we're working with people that we believe are making a real impact on the world, and our audit can help them move forward beyond just another payday. Time is what is most valuable. And so we want to make sure that with that time, we're making as much of an impact as we can. And so, working on things like bringing notifications to the Ethereum space. I mean, that sounds to us like something incredibly ambitious and incredibly valuable to our space. And so to be a part of that journey and to be able to help make that dream a reality is a gift at the end of the day, and something that we take very, very seriously, and others take very, very seriously in that space.
Yeah, it's amazing. I just wanted to jump in with the story of ChainSafe over here, because that was the story which really touched me when our contracts were getting audited. And huge shout out to Oleski. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. But yeah, you are like an external team member to us. So yeah, the story is guys why audits are important. We got to know about it when we created the version 1 of our protocol and we gave it to ChainSafe to audit. And one of the things in that protocol, just a minor function call, was written wrong, and because of that, people would have been able to drain the funds out, which will form the fee pool for all the people who are going to send notifications out. And if it wouldn't have been for ChainSafe, this thing wouldn't have been caught and fixed. So that is why audits are important. Like how good you are in writing the code, it doesn't matter. When someone comes in with an external perspective, and not only that, if they understand the code out, like they understand the feature that these codes are doing, then that is amazing. Like our protocol, it interacts with IPFS, it's going multi-chain, so there are things that are not really in the smart contract. So if you have auditors that are able to dive deep and understand that as an external team member, that in itself is very special, and that will basically make your protocol more powerful and more superior in the long run. So yeah, that was one of the stories. I just couldn't help but share that out as well.
And thanks for sharing that. Yeah, Alexi, who leads our audits, is a person who taking it seriously doesn't really cut it, because they take it personally, right? They really do feel like they are a part of your team, and we really do feel that way when we are partnering with people. And I think having that intention be what grounds the engagement is so important, because yes, we'll make money, but we don't succeed unless you succeed, right? Because again, like having one engagement happen and then we never talk to each other again, there's just no real value in that, right? Especially to anyone beyond just the two of us. And if the point is to create value and impact beyond just one-to-one relationships and to empower true innovation and true creation, we need to make sure that we're aligned beyond just transactional based alignment. And so, yeah, I mean, thank you for bringing up that story. And, I would like to stress that that's honestly how we view every engagement across the board, because otherwise I don't think we would be here today, because our work would definitely not speak for itself.
I think the work and also the people, I think we are all connected, bound by common values, like you said. And thanks, Aidan. I mean, it's such an honor working with you and the team. We're always connected with the ChainSafe team on Telegram. So it's always fun staying connected with them. Harsh.
Yes, so I had a question on organization, just because ChainSafe is into so many things, and you guys are killing it, whether it's Web3 JS, whether it's audit, whether it's the gaming SDK. And that's not even half of the things. I'm just going through the website and there's so many things I have to personally check out. So I wanted to ask this, like when you started, was it, what was the one thing that you started with? And how do you manage now such a variety of things to handle?
So, yeah, great question. And the first way that we manage that is by having a really large organization. So we're an 115 person team, where we have incredible org design that's been done every step of the way to ensure that not only are we building for now, but we're building for future scale in mind. And so having things structured like heads of department, heads of specific groups at the organization, having very clear accountability and checks and balances built into everything we do is really how we manage this organization. Because we are doing an incredible amount of things. However, we also have an incredible amount of people helping make all of that a reality each and every day.
Awesome. And did you guys start with like one product first, or did you start with all of them?
So the way we really started is by building developer tools. And those developer tools have expanded in terms of what it is we build and what it is we even think of as a developer tool. But really that was what we started out with, is trying to look at our community and understand, okay, what do we need to be able to build the stuff that we want to build? And so that was really, I guess, problem number one is trying to really think about the user experience, the developer experience, and how we can influence that positively by focusing on this part of the stack.
Awesome. Sounds super cool. We will probably try to learn from it. Moving on that question a bit, like what's your favorite developer tool at ChainSafe and your favorite developer tool outside of ChainSafe?
So I'm not going to be able to answer this question because I also don't necessarily have an answer, right? Like I honestly believe that everything we're doing is of value and is a part of our flywheel of sustainability. And so each and every one of the things that we do helps to get us to a more sustainable place, or else we wouldn't be working on it. And that's why long-term alignment is so important to us. It is that component of sustainability that we believe really is missing in our space.
But that makes total sense as well. Aidan, I also had questions about your team. Like, is your team remote? Like 130 people is a lot of people. And how do you ensure the management? Is it like they are separated into departments, or they just roll into just one big org chart?
Totally. And so we're definitely a hybrid model type organization where we do have offices. However, we're also based in over 30 countries. And so we do have an office here in Toronto. I'm in it today, an office in Berlin, and an office in Zagreb. But we also have, again, people in 30 countries all over the world. So we're definitely remote first. So for example, say we have 2 people here in the office, but 3 other people on a call remote, we'll take the call separately, right? We'll create as much of a equilibrium between all the participants of the call and not create a sense of, people in the office and people outside of the office, because it's really important to make people, we'll make ourselves change certain habits to ensure we're being as empowering for people as possible. Just because we're based in Toronto, it doesn't mean we should have any insights to things that someone outside shouldn't have. But it also kind of is important to always be doing team activities. I mean, we have someone at the organization who's constantly working to ensure that, we're having internal events, we're having internal outings. We encourage as many people as possible to come to, ETH Global events, conferences, and things of that nature, so people can meet in person. So we do a whole bunch of things on the people operations side of things to ensure that we are creating opportunities for people to meet, to be in person, and to just share with one another, learn from one another in person. And the way we manage all of that is through a very structured organization. So we do not believe that flat organizations lead to more empowered individuals. Rather, we think the opposite. We think that creates confusion, that creates too much politicization of the workforce, that creates just a lack of clear direction in terms of where you're going as an individual within the collective organization. And so we definitely do believe in a structured approach where everyone is very aware of where they stand and they're very aware of what they need to do to get to the next level. And so having all of those things as transparent as possible, having all of those things discussed on a regular basis, that to us is the key to growing an organization, scaling an organization, and ensuring that people are happy while you're doing all of that. Because it's easy to scale an organization and upset everyone along the way. It's much, much harder to do that while ensuring that you're taking people and their experience into account.
All right, Aidan, moving forward, I wanted to talk about Ethereum developer meetup. From starting, starting with the journey of you going to Ethereum developer meetups to hosting them, you have come a full circle on it. And because of that, you have seen so many exciting projects. I would love to dive into some of your favorite projects that you have worked on or have seen in the Ethereum community.
Yeah, absolutely. And so kind of going back all the way to the beginning, I mean, one of the things that really excited me so much was Firefly. The Firefly, which was a project by Richard Moore, the creator and maintainer of Ethers JS. And it was his open source hardware wallet that he had, a way for you to be able to do everything that all of these other people were charging so much money for, but in an open source way. And that to me was just mind blowing that this guy, as a hobby project, this is maybe 5 years ago or something like that, had just done this thing. And at the same time, it wasn't really always even just projects that were inspiring. It was the questions that people were asking. One of my co-founders, him and I both tell the story of how we met, but with being impressed by the questions that the other was asking. And it's like, those were, things that were just as important as the projects themselves to us as people who were just being exposed to this technology stack. So yeah, it's an interesting kind of full circle that we've come, where now the average person knows more than the average enthusiast did back then. And so just there's been a complete paradigm shift in terms of not only the expectation of an audience, but also of the projects themselves.
So yeah, Aidan, that was an interesting conversation. And this brings us to the end of the phase one of the interview. What we don't usually tell our guests is that there's a special phase two interview that's prepared. It's usually fun questions prepared by Richa. So, Richa.
Cool. So Aidan, like really fast, rapid fire questions, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun. So let's get started. Awesome. So Axie Infinity, CryptoKitties, Thetan Arena, what would you pick, or just go with your favorite blockchain game?
Good question. I'll go with CryptoKitties, just for ETH Waterloo.
Awesome. So if you were to go to Mars, three things you take with you.
That's a good question. I'm really bad with hypotheticals because I'm definitely not going to Mars. There's no way you're sending me to Mars. I'm good on Earth here.
Okay, you're good on Earth. Awesome. Your best at Denver memory?
Oh, great question. Meeting one of my now colleagues in the second week Denver, I believe. No, or what might have been the first. Shout out to Ed for being just the best Ed anyone could have ever dreamed of.
Awesome. Your favorite EIP?
Good question. Definitely one that Afri and I worked on at Cape Town that we ended up unsubmitting, but yeah, that was a lot of fun to work on together in Cape Town, out of all places.
Amazing. The last song or podcast you listened to?
The last song I listened to was a drum and bass remix of a song called Who Knows. So it was Shy FX mixing this song by Chronix called Who Knows. Check it out. It's really good.
I will link it and also check it out after the podcast. Okay. If you were to be one of these characters, what would you pick, Rick or Morty?
I'm going to go for Pickle Rick, just because of the places I could get into by being that small.
Okay. So can you show us something from your workspace? Something around your workspace?
Yeah, I have my Gitcoin mug that I've been drinking some delicious tea from.
Amazing. Okay. If not ChainSafe systems, what would be your second choice of name for ChainSafe?
There was no other choice. Sometimes in life there is no choice. You know immediately there is only one answer.
Yep. And it just it's like a hand in glove thing. So it just makes so much sense. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. So probably like just the last bit. So I'll just read out a couple of things. Just tell me the first thing that comes to your mind when I say the following: multi-chain,
Chainbridge,
metaverse.
To be seen what exactly that means.
Yeah. Your favorite builder of Web3 is?
The people that I work with. Definitely without them, I wouldn't be able to dream of the things I can even dream of.
Sure. Bitcoin?
It's all right.
What are your top 3 projects of Ethereum?
My top 3 projects are, things like Uniswap, where they completely commoditized an entire kind of pivotal part of our ecosystem. I also really love, for example, things like UPNS, of course. And yeah, some friends of ours have a really cool, and another partner project of ours, a really cool DeFi platform called Element as well.
Yep, love them. And there are like so many other cool projects there. So
Totally.
Finance and stuff. And finally, what does Ethereum mean to you?
Yeah, Ethereum to me means a global computer where, our individual participation is what powers the actual things that make up the network. So, as much as we like to believe that our computer is what's doing it all, really it's us using our computer, and the power is in each and every one of us to ensure that the Ethereum network is the global computer it is.
That's an amazing answer, Aidan. All right, Aidan, that's about it. This was so much fun, and thank you for taking the time out to come join us and have a fun conversation.
Thank you.
Everyone who's listening, Aidan of ChainSafe. We are fanboys, and I know most of you are as well. Till next time, bye from us.
Thank you. Bye.
So thank you both so much for having me here. And for everyone who's listening, just know that without each and every one of you, there is no Web3. There is only going to be an extended Web2. And so the power is in your hands. And without you, there will never be a better future. But it is possible together.
Completely agree.
Amazing. Thanks, Aidan, for your beautiful words and great conversation. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you both so much.
Have a good one.
See you soon. See ya. Bye-bye.